Hello and welcome. You are listening to the Happier Life Podcast. I'm your host, Claire Deacon. After deciding survival wasn't enough, I set out on a path to live my best life. I wanted to thrive. Now I'm on a mission to support others. Think you're not good enough, confident enough, brave enough? I'm here to tell you you are, and you can achieve anything. This is your time, so let's do this. Hello and welcome to the Happier Life Podcast, where we talk about navigating life beyond just surviving, because let's be honest, survival mode is exhausting. I'm Claire, your host, positive psychology coach and therapist, and a woman who has been through enough storms to know that there is always a way through. And if you're here today because you're feeling emotionally overwhelmed, first off, sending you big hugs. You are not broken. You are not failing. You are human. And you're in the right place. Now, let's take a breath together. Just a slow, deep inhale and exhale. No rush, just us here in this moment. I know some of you listening might have felt overwhelmed before. Perhaps you even opened your eyes this morning, that heavy feeling in your chest, like there's a weight pressing down, making even the smallest of tasks feel impossible. And maybe some of you are thinking, this is just how I am. I can't cope like everyone else. But let me stop you right there, because overwhelm is not a personality trait. And it's definitely not a life sentence. So today, we're not going to be rushing. We're not forcing solutions. We're slowing things down. We're going to talk about why overwhelm happens, what's actually going on in your brain and body, and most importantly, what you can do right now just to steady yourself. Before we get into it, I just want to say, if at any point this feels too much, pause, take a breath, come back to it later if you need to. There's no pressure here. And if you're thinking, I need more help with this, I've got you. Book yourself onto a free discovery call with me, happycoach.com/discovery.call. You can find it in the chat notes. Or if talking feels like too much, then you can drop me an email, claire@happycoach.com, and I'll send you some guidance towards some resources that are available for you. All right, let's take this step by step. Why overwhelm happens and why it's not just you being dramatic or over spiraling and finding things difficult. So first things first, let's bust a myth. And that is, overwhelm isn't just about having a lot on your plate. It isn't that the size of your to-do list. If that were the case, we'd all be walking around in a permanent state of meltdown. Overwhelm happens when your brain perceives more than it can handle, and your nervous system goes into overdrive. There's not a size of to-do list at which this point happens. It's when your brain perceives that there is just too much to handle. So let's put it this way. Have you ever opened a cupboard knowing full well it's overflowing, and as soon as you try and grab one thing, everything comes crashing down? That's your brain on overwhelm. And it doesn't even have to be something big. 1 minute, you can be fine. And the next, someone asks what you want for dinner, and suddenly you're questioning all of your life choices, and everything feels too much and too overwhelming. So here's what is actually happening inside your body. So, your amygdala, brain's alarm system. First of all, that's scanning for danger, and it will suddenly go, oh no, this is too much. In which case, your stress hormones, the cortisol, and the adrenaline flood your system, getting you ready to fight, flight, or freeze. Then your prefrontal cortex, the rational decision making part of your brain, basically throws its hands up and checks out. That's why even the smallest of decisions, like whether to reply to a text or ignore it forever, can feel impossible. You're not failing, your brain is just overloaded. And the thing is, it's not just about stress, it's about a perception of stress. So, two people can have exactly the same workload, but one might feel totally fine while the other is overwhelmed. And why is that? Well, because overwhelm isn't just about what's happening, it's about what our brain thinks is happening. So, what are we going to do about it? How are we going to bring your brain back online? So, when overwhelm hits, your first job isn't to figure everything out. The first thing to do is to bring your central nervous system back to a place where you can think clearly. So, think of it like rebooting a frozen laptop, except in this case, the laptop is your brain. And the reboot button is about self care. And I'm not talking about that bubble bath, I mean the real practical kind. So let's start with something simple. Wherever you are, I want you to take a moment to just look around you. I want you to name 5 things that you can see. Anything that there is around you: tree, car, pen, pencil, ruler, headphones. Now, name 4 things you can touch, then 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste or you can imagine tasting. Lots of you will be picking chocolate right now, or perhaps a glass of wine. I know it might sound simple, but trust me, it works. Your brain can't be panicking about the future while it's focused on finding those 5 things around you. Okay, so now let's talk about breathing. Not just any kind of breathing, but box breathing. So imagine drawing a box in your mind as you breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, and then exhale for 4 seconds. Then you hold for 4 seconds and you repeat it all again. So I'm going to take a moment just to practice this with you. So in for 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And hold 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can continue repeating that for as long as you're listening to this episode and use it whenever you need to just calm that brain down, because this is a technique that is used for Navy SEALs to stay calm under pressure. So if it's good enough for them, it's good enough for us on a Wednesday morning, a Thursday evening, and on a Saturday night to manage and support ourselves when we're feeling that overwhelmed. Okay. So another technique that you can use, and this is one that's become very popular, is the use of cold water. Now, I'm not going to say that you need to get yourself one of these cold water plunge pools and take that dip. I'm talking about something as simple as splashing your face with cold water. Even having a glass of cold water can help support you at these times. So a glass of water, splashing water on your face, or even holding an ice cube in your hand. All of these things can send a message to your nervous system that you are safe. It brings you into the moment. It might sound ridiculous, but it does work. So, once your central nervous system is a bit calmer, let's talk a moment about how you're speaking to yourself. Because overwhelm isn't just about what's happening externally, it's about how we're processing internally. When we're overwhelmed, our thoughts tend to sound like, I can't do this. Everything is just too much. I'm failing. I'm not good enough. If your best friend came to you saying all of those things, you wouldn't just agree with them and say, yeah, you're right, and walk away. You'd reassure them. So, why is it that we all talk to ourselves like this? So, it's time to start intercepting some of those thoughts. And instead of saying, I can't do this, try saying, I don't have to do this all at once. Instead of saying, this is too much, try, I'm going to take it one step at a time. Instead of, I'm failing, try, I'm figuring things out. Remember, failure is only data, it's only a piece of information. Your words really matter. The way you talk to yourself makes so much difference. Okay, so overwhelm can really make you feel like you're drowning, but I want you to remember that that isn't a sign that you're broken. That is a feeling, and it's a moment in time, and it's temporary. And right now, your job isn't to fix everything in your life, it's to steady yourself one moment at a time. You cannot go full steam ahead if you are in freeze. So I'm going to leave you with those thoughts. See what comes up with you. Try those different techniques. See how that makes a difference in the moment when you're feeling that overwhelm. And if this episode resonated with you and you're thinking, okay, but I still need help figuring out what to do next, let us talk. Book a free discovery call with me. Information is all in the show notes, and I can help you unpack what's going on and give you a plan forward. So arrange that call, or you can drop me an email, as I mentioned earlier. And if you know someone else who might need this episode, Please share it with them. You never know who's struggling in silence. So until next time, take care of yourself. You deserve it. And keep on with that positive talk. If you've enjoyed this episode, ensure you hit subscribe, head on over to my website, happiercoach.com, sign up for the weekly newsletter, and let me support you in living a happier life. I'm your host, Claire Deacon. Thank you for listening. Have a fabulous day.